Hey guys, welcome to Night Owls. We're starting 5 minutes early because Sasha got home a little bit early. And that's how we swing with Night Owls. We just go based on our schedule. Thank you guys for being here. If you're new to the show, we do this every late night Friday after Sasha gets off work. And we just talk about whatever. I think what we're going to do tonight, just so you guys are aware, there's some stuff we want to do Rumble X only. K Max sent in he likes these guess the TV show themes are kind of fun. I can't do them on YouTube because of the copyright, because of the music. So we will do that probably halfway through the show. We'll shut down the YouTube part and just do Rumble X, but we'll give you notice when that happens. Yeah, if you're wondering why we look separate, we're actually you can tell by the paneling, we're in the same room. But we did this last week because I forgot my splitter for our headphones. And so Sasha just did it on her computer. I did it on mine. And we actually liked it so much because it's a little crowded in here when, back at where we're at the house 24/7. When Sasha moves in, we'll just do it there. But right now, this is just a little bit easier. So how we do this, we're in the same room so we don't get an echo. We just mute each other's mics when the other person is talking. So if you hear an echo, it means we kind of screwed up a little bit, but we'll try to be as good as possible with this. And Sasha, how you doing?
I'm good. I'm kind of tired, but I'm good. It's been a busy day, and I'm trying to not. I'm not on a diet, but I'm fasting a little bit, so I didn't haven't eaten anything since like 5 o'clock. So I don't know if that's why, but I'm just kind of like worn out. Today's been a busy day.
Yeah, it's kind of interesting because we talked about some people are more night owls than other people, and I'm trying to adjust my sleep to stay up later. Right now, Session and I, we don't live together, so I tend to go to bed pretty early, but I'm starting to adjust that so I get up instead of at 6 a.m., 7 a.m., and I just do more video prep the night before is kind of what I do, and actually do some of the videos the night before and then post them in the morning. So I've been kind of working on that. But yeah, I kind of start to drag late, but usually when I do the show, I get my second wind of energy and I have a lot of fun with it. And we got a lot of stuff to talk about tonight. We can go over. If you guys have questions, just let us know. We will definitely bring up whatever you have. We have super chat, rants, and power chats, and so it's good to see all you guys here. And let me make sure it's going okay in the Rumble part. Sometimes I don't set up my keys right, so let me make sure. Yeah, we're good on Rumble. Okay, cool. So a couple things. Just before we started the stream, we were watching the movie called Chappaquiddick. That's about Ted Kennedy. And it's amazing how, Sasha, a lot of people don't know about that story.
Yeah, I was talking to a lady at work tonight about it, and she just said she read the name Chappaquiddick, but she didn't know anything about it. And I was telling her, she was like, "Really?" But it's weird when you talk to people that don't follow politics. I've known about it, I don't know, at least 10 years. I think I found out about it when he died, like somebody told me, because I didn't used to really follow politics that closely either. And that's how I knew. But if you talk to people that don't follow politics, it's amazing how much stuff they don't know. And that's how we end up with Kamala Harris as our VP. I think a lot of it is just people don't know who these people are. I schooled this lady at my job about Kamala Harris too, because she's like, I've heard some sketchy things about her, but she didn't really know. And so I try to school people as much as I can, like, hey, this is what these people are like. I think that's a good way. Now, there's some people that are so far gone on the left, and I know some people like this that they're just super brainwashed, and you can't convince them otherwise. But like middle of the road people or that don't follow politics, you can turn them a little bit, or at least get them thinking about stuff.
Yeah, it was amazing. In case you guys don't know about Chappaquiddick, it had to do with Ted Kennedy. And uh, I'm older, so I don't remember Chappaquiddick. That happened the weekend the man Neil Armstrong landed on the moon. So he kind of got a lucky break in that sense that the major coverage was on the moon landing. I do remember that as a kid. And yes, we did land on the moon. I'll give a quick background, but the Kennedys were always, well, since the 60s, they were an institution in America, being the Democrats from Massachusetts. Joe was the patriarch, and there was John Kennedy, obviously, who was president. Then there was Bobby Kennedy, who was assassinated, who is the father of RFK Jr. now. And then we had Ted Kennedy, and one of the younger brothers. And Ted was always a drunkard. And what happened is after Bobby died, he died. Then a year later, in 1969, they had a party to try to commemorate him, and it was Ted Kennedy's staff. His wife wasn't there, and it's a bunch of older guys. And they had these girls they called the Boiler Room Girls, and I think they intentionally picked them because they were kind of young co-eds and they could hit on them. And the Kennedys always slept around a lot, and they partied. And Ted Kennedy left the party with one of the interns, Mary Jo. What's her last name? Kirkpackney.
Kopechne.
And he left with her, and then he went off a bridge because it was on the island, Martha's Vineyard, and the car went into it wasn't a deep water, but it was some water, and he got out of the car, but she remained in the car, and he swam to shore, didn't know what to do. He walked back to where everyone was partying, his advisors and lawyers, and he didn't report it. He went back to the hotel on the mainland. The next day he got up, went to brunch, the whole bit. And then obviously, they discovered the accident, and he immediately went into PR mode trying to cover it up. And eventually he did plead guilty. He had a plea bargain for leaving the scene of an accident. I think his lawyers told him at the time, because I think he was drunk, and so he'd be his manslaughter, murder, really, in that situation. So if he reported it right away, they would have seen he's drunk, because he was a big drinker. So he lied. He said he wasn't drinking. Yeah, right. Ted Kennedy not drinking at a party. And so he slept it off and waited to the next day so he wouldn't be drunk. So it'd be a lesser charge. It was really dicey. But Ted was just mostly worried about how this would impact his career because he thought he was going to be president. And this really derailed his presidency. But really, anyone else, I was telling Sasha, if I did something like this, I'd go to jail for 20 years. And he had all the Kennedy connections. He didn't have to resign as senator. And he always acted like he was a victim from it. He was a real piece of shit person.
Yeah, I didn't even really act like he was sorry about it. He was more upset because he couldn't be president. Like, he didn't really give a shit. And then he wore the neck brace and pretended like he was more hurt than he was. But something that seemed kind of different between now and then is at least the media kind of covered it because they talked about, like, oh, he turned his neck. He's supposed to be in a neck brace, but he turned around even though, he was in a brace. And I thought nowadays they'd probably cover that up. If it was like Joe Biden or Camel Toe, they cover up all the stuff they do. Whereas back then, I guess they did report more on that stuff than they do now.
Yeah, but I think you would have a lot now of people on X on social media would really get out the story out more. And there'd be all these people with cameras and going where it happened on the bridge. And so I think it actually would be a little bit harder to cover it up now than what happened back then. But that was a defining moment. It was a pretty good movie. I was always skeptical when it came out. They were trying to do a spin job for the Kennedys because the media always did, but they really didn't. I see that. Yeah, is that Buddy or Louise?
That's Buddy. Well, I mean, the mainstream media would still try to cover it up, but it's like that now. I mean, you can see that people with their phones, kind of like they're even trying to cover up the stuff in Colorado with these Venezuelan gangs taking over apartment complexes. They're trying to spin that like, oh, it's not that big a deal. But then people have their phones, so they can be like, yeah, it kind of is a big deal. And it is happening. Like, we can see it right here. So I think that's kind of the difference.
Yeah, it's hard to deny what's happening in Colorado. In case you guys don't know, I covered this on my show. I think it first got out, this Hispanic guy, he wasn't a white guy at all, but he was saying how these Venezuelan gangs, illegal immigrants from Venezuela, because Venezuela, they emptied a lot of their jails, they just put them into America, Biden, Harris, and they took over some apartment complexes in Aurora, Colorado, which is a suburb of Denver on the east side. And they were literally going to the residents saying, you got to give us the rent money, otherwise we'll kill you. You don't pay the landlord, you pay us. And this guy was just saying, this is crazy. This is America. How could this be? We need to vote for Trump. And this guy himself was Hispanic. And then we had the footage, because, there's cameras everywhere that showed these Venezuelan gang members going door to door, demanding money, shaking people down. And again, the mayor of Aurora said it's a huge problem, but the governor, who's Polis or whatever, he's a Jewish guy, homosexual. He's trying to downplay it like it's no big to do, and it's just really sad how the situation we're in now. And I was telling Sasha, I always like to do these what ifs. What if you had, let's say, a predominantly black apartment complex, Sasha, and all of a sudden members of the KKK showed up with Confederate battle flags and guns, and they demanded the blacks give them the rent money? What do you think the response would be from the government?
Oh, they would take care of it. We would have to hear like a speech from Biden and camel toe. I mean, they would definitely do something about it. Or if it was in a rich neighborhood, they would do something. But since these people are like poor, they don't give a damn. Um, yeah, it's crazy. I can't even believe this stuff's happening in America right now. It's just, I know America's getting to be like kind of a shithole.
You want to read the super chat?
Yes. Jonathan Griffith, thank you. How would you compare the quality of Trump's 2024 campaign to 2020 and 2016? Is he doing anything better or worse? Is he doing anything different this time? Yeah, I don't think it's as good as it was, of course, like in 2016. I think he's trying to get people that are never going to vote for him. That's why he talks about this, like the abortion thing. Because from what I understand, the Florida, what is it, the Florida thing? I forgot what it's called, but it would allow abortion like up to the basically till birth. And they have a 6 week ban now. And Trump is like, well, that's not enough time. And I think he should just maybe avoid it. Just don't really talk about it. And I don't know if it's because they got on to him about the IVF shit. Like they tried to make it like, oh, they're going to ban all this birth control and IVF. And it's like he said over and over he's not. But once again, back to normies, if you don't know what's going on, a lot of people like hear this shit. Like actually somebody I work with said that, like, oh, he's going to ban birth control. I'm like, they never said that because they listen to mainstream crap and they get little tidbits here and there. But he should just avoid the subject. I would just be, if I was Trump, I would just say, look, like they overturned Roe v. Wade. It goes back to the states. That's it. I'm not going to like veto any of this stuff. We're just going to leave it at that. And he should, because he's pissing off a lot of the pro-life community. And I've seen a lot of them say they don't want to vote for him. And stop with this. We're going to let all these Indians or whoever come in that have college diplomas. That's idiotic. No, we don't need more people. Nobody ever talks about this automation. A lot of these jobs aren't even going to exist in the future, but yet we need to bring more people. How many people do we freaking need? And so, yeah, there's stuff like that. No, some stuff is good. I've seen some of the ads. There was one I saw that was really funny, and it had Kamala Harris, and she said, a loaf of bread costs it costs 50% more. Eggs cost 20% more. Rent's like 80% more. And then it says, I'm Donald Trump and I approve this message. Like some of that stuff's good. And I saw, this isn't a Trump thing, but it is RFK Jr.'s, the lady that was running as his VP, Nicole Shanahan. She did a great ad I heard tonight. We should actually find that and play it on if you want to go on Rumble. And it was like, or you could probably do it on YouTube. It'd probably be okay. But it was like a thing like, do you think you have TDS? You can get help. Hey, did you see that one, Paul?
No, I didn't see that.
I'll see if I can find it and we can play it because it's really funny. I just heard it tonight for the first time. But yeah, I think there's things Trump should just shut the hell up about. I don't know, that's how he's kind of failing in the campaign. Stop trying to pander to these women that are never going to vote for you. Like, I know people like this, they're not going to vote for you. Like these older women, they hate your guts. Like, just let it go. You should work on the like people that are kind of moderate in the middle, and maybe don't piss off the pro-life people. That's like a good start.
Yeah, my take on this, it's a good question, by the way. Thank you, Jonathan. Is well, one, I'll just off the top of my head, Trump is 8 years older now than in 2016, right? It's been 8 years. And he was 70, just turned 70 at that time. Now he's 78. And I do think age is playing a factor now. And no, I don't think he's senile like Joe Biden. He's still funny and stuff. But I could tell he's starting to sound like an old man and he rambles a little bit more. And that's unfortunate. Now, he still will do well against Kamala because Kamala's just stupid. And her interview was a disaster. She went down in the polls. But so I think he's just a little bit older. That's a difference. And also now compared to 2016 anyway, in 2016 he was kind of an unknown quantity, and there was a lot of energy in a rebellion against the Republican establishment, what became the alt-right. And I'm not saying the alt-right had anything to do with them being in, but, and I'm talking the alt-right before it went into the whole goofy area. But it used to be about, keeping jobs in America, building the wall. And Trump really tapped into that. I don't think intentionally, but he did tap into it. And I think there was more excitement in 2016, whereas now it's hard to get excited about a guy that promises to bring in millions of more immigrants from India. And when he says staple, your green card to diploma, I think India. And number one, India is extremely corrupt. A college degree, most places doesn't mean anything anymore, but in India, their whole culture is based on fraud. And if you've ever known people, I know a doctor friend, she went to med school in Canada. She said, without exception, the Indians, they all cheated. It's just their culture. So it's not like we're getting great people in with that. And so it's hard to get fired up about that. And I agree with Sasha. I was talking with Sasha about this. The whole abortion thing was decided versus Roe versus Wade, to put it back to the states. And all Trump has to do is say, hey, I want to move on from this issue. I accomplished what I said I was going to do, overturn Roe versus Wade. It's now at the states, and I support the pro-lifers and their efforts in each state to change it by the state. But we're not going to do anything federal because the courts have already ruled it's not a federal matter, it's a state matter. So I've always been saying it's a state matter, so I'm not going to be hypocritical and I'll try to make it a federal matter. So it's not my issue right now. I think that would be a good way to deal with that subject. That's, I see that's some of the changes that I see. So it's a different time. Trump's a different person, and it isn't as exciting as 2016. There's kind of a shadow more over the country now. That there was a lot of hope in 2016. Maybe we could turn this around. And even if Trump's elected, I don't think people are very optimistic about America. Definitely not if Kamala's elected. It's basically a communist. She wants to shut down X. It will be a horrible situation.
Well, and it's kind of hard to get excited when the whole like argument is basically like, oh, he's better than her, like on little things. Like maybe he can deport some people, and I think part of it too is we saw how he governed, and he did good as far as economy till COVID. And that's the point I am. That's why I'm voting for him. Maybe it's selfish, but I want the economy to get good. So I care more about that and like cheap gas, because he's not going to move the needle on a lot of this. And he didn't deport. Remember last time, mass deportations. And I keep hearing people say, like, I was listening to Tucker's show and they were talking like, oh, the public doesn't have the people just don't have the they can't stomach if we had to really mass deport people. I don't give a damn. Mass deport these motherfuckers. Like, I don't think they're helping, and we have to pay for them, and that pisses me off. Like you saw the I don't know if you saw this in New York where they're putting up a bunch of like these people. They're like buying furniture for these people and everything else, and it's like taxpayers are paying for all this crap, and I think people are tired of it, and we're just being overrun. And everywhere you go, you have to. I mean, I'm learning Spanish now because it's like I feel like it's going to come in handy at some point. And I just don't think the ship's going to turn around because people are weak. And Trump, I mean, I don't know. I think deep down he's kind of a softie, and he's not going to want to make these people mad. I mean, he always calls out like, "Oh, Hispanic unemployment and all this stuff," and it's fine to want to, I guess, extend an olive branch to get more people to vote because we need the votes. But at the same time, don't forget about the people that kind of put you in. And once again, I'm still going to vote for him. Not that it matters. We're in Arkansas because I do want the economy better. And maybe he can keep us out of a war or stop the war, like in Ukraine and Russia. And I mean, he's better than them, but that's getting to be like the argument. Well, he's better than them. Like even with the abortion stuff, I've seen a lot of people say that. Well, that's not an argument for me anymore. Like I just can't in good faith vote for somebody like this. And I've never really believed Trump was like pro-life anyway. I mean, the guy's like he was like a Democrat for years. He's from New York City. Like, do you really think he gives a shit? I doubt it. So there's that. But he did put in, Supreme Court justices that overturned Roe v. Wade. But yeah, there's issues with Trump for sure. But like you said, he's older, and that's probably part of it too. Now, things I think that he's done good are like he went on that influencer guy's show, and they were talking about how the guy used to be like a cokehead, and Trump was just kind of talking to him. Like it made Trump seem more like personable, and I kind of like Trump when he does stuff like that. And I think it's good that he goes and puts like flowers on military people's graves, and they invited him and he does it. 'Cause you don't really see Joe Biden and Camel Toe doing that kind of stuff. I mean, and I like Trump a lot more personally than I don't like her, and she's so dumb. I can't imagine she can't even do a 15-minute interview. They have to edit her, and she's weak. And now she's lying about that she worked at McDonald's. Like I don't know if you've seen that. People have gone through and looked at her job profile. She didn't work at McDonald's. I did. I worked at McDonald's for 9 months when I was 19 years old. It is a shitty job. And it's more the reason the job's shitty, it's more because the people that come in treat you like garbage, because I don't think the job was easy, and I got free food even though it was McDonald's, and I was 19, so I had kind of fun doing it. But it's like it was hard work, and you did have to put up with a lot of bullshit. Don't try to act like, oh, I understand, I know what it's like to be like you guys. It's like, no, you grew up like fairly wealthy. Maybe she wasn't rich, but she grew up with a pretty cushy life. So don't try to compare yourself to people that actually have to do that to like pay their rent.
Yeah, they caught her on the McDonald's lie, and it was a lie. These are so liars because she said, I can understand you're not going to put McDonald's on your resume. That makes sense. But then they asked her, well, what McDonald's did you work at exactly? What location? And she couldn't remember or say. And I think I could remember where I work. So that doesn't make a lot of sense to me. It was something that sounded good, that she tried to make her seem more relatable. Everything about her is fake. She's a very fake person. But that kind of it defines, I guess, where we are. And we got a power chat. Damien, $3. Have you seen the new Alien movie? I thought it was great. No, I haven't saw that, but that's kind of a good lead in because we did see a movie last weekend, Strange Darlings. And I will give my update about it, then Sasha can give her update about it, impression of the movie. Strange Darlings, I didn't know what to expect. And it to me had a vibe of a movie like from the 90s. It's kind of almost a cross between think pulp fiction and like a David Lynch movie. So there's a lot of twist in the movie. And for the majority of the movie, the two lead characters are white, which is nice. I didn't notice any homosexuals they put in the movie or transgender. And yeah, at the end they had, I think, a couple of black characters, but not many. So there wasn't much wokeness at all. And it was just it was kind of like an old time movie you'd see from the 90s where it's sort of I wouldn't call it really horror. It's more of a suspense, kind of like the vibe of Pulp Fiction. So I would definitely recommend it if you get a chance to see Strange Darlings. It was entertaining. It was some plot twists, that type of thing. And there was really no wokeness whatsoever to it. And in fact, you can make a couple arguments. It was, in some cases, they portrayed the female police officer as a doofus. So I give it a thumbs up. But so, Sasha, what did you think about the movie?
Yeah, I enjoyed it. I thought it was good. It had a twist, which is always nice. It was filmed in 35 millimeter too. They told that at the beginning of the movie. The way it was like Pulp Fiction, and really like one of the only ways it was like Pulp Fiction was how it would go. It would be like, this is a movie and it's got 6 parts, and then it was like part three, and so you start with part three, and then you start with, and then it goes like part five. It moves around, and so that's how it's different. So you're surprised, but it was good. Um, I would recommend going to see it. It's not, there's not many showings of it. They said, if you liked it, to share it. They're trying to get the word out to get it in more theaters, I guess. I want to see the new Alien, but I haven't. I figured the Alien will be out for a while. So that's why I'm not in a big hurry, because it's on several screens. But there's other movies I want to see. Like, we're going to see Reagan tomorrow, and I don't know how long that'll be in theaters. It's one of those things. And then also, me and Brandon are going to go Monday night to see Harry Potter and the Half Blood Prince, because it's in the two of the Harry Potter movies are playing this weekend here. Um, the Prisoner of Azkaban and Half Blood Prince, and so at like 10 o'clock at night on Monday we're going, because it's late movie and it's $5. And I haven't seen the Harry Potter movies since the first time they came out, and I watched them all as they came in the theaters, and that's my favorite one. So, and then I also saw Whisper of the Heart with Brando last weekend. I had never seen it. He had the Miyazaki movie. It was really good. It was made in the 90s too, and it's kind of a prequel, I guess, to The Cat Returns, which I didn't know. But we've been going to all, me and him have been going to all the Miyazaki movies, because Paul doesn't like cartoons. So I don't even ask Paul, do you want to go? Because he won't like it, even though the movies are awesome and a lot of fun to watch.
Yeah, and I want to thank Rich Mountains. Thank you, $50. He just gave a no question, but $50. That's a very generous donation, so thank you very much. And we
Yes, thank you.
and we got another super chat too. And thank you. This is how might have played out if Trump turned the failed shooting into an accusation. The swamp tried to kill me and failed. How would the people react? Well, the media would have said that he's deranged, that the kid that tried, not a kid, he was an adult, the guy that tried to kill him, oh, he was a part of the swamp. It's just Trump being paranoid. He was just a lunatic. And it's amazing how much, Sasha, this should be a huge event. It's up there with Reagan being shot with John Hinckley. That was always in the news, the whole lore. They made movies about it. Everyone investigated it. This, they seem to be just sweeping it under the rug like it never happened.
Well, they're trying to act like it didn't happen. I've seen reports where people are saying it's fake. And I saw a lot of comments where people were making fun of him when he had his ear bandage, and a lot of these were all hateful people. Um, I don't know. You never know, though. If he did that, then people would be like, "Oh, he's whining," even though the guy. I mean, if he hadn't moved his head at just that moment, I mean, if anything, you should know it was real, because how good of a shooter would you have to be if they planned it? Because I've seen some of these stupid shit libs say like it was planned, like for attention or whatever. Yeah, no, we saw what happened, and a man died. Trump's not going to let a man die over, just so he can try to boost his campaign. I think at first he had a lot of momentum from that, because it was epic when he stood up with his fist and everything. That's when I was like, yeah, I'm going to vote, because I was kind of on the fence even when it was him versus Joe Biden. I was like, well, am I even going to bother, because we're in Arkansas? And I thought, well, he did get shot, and I saw a lot of other people, but lately he's been kind of fumbling the ball on things. But I think it's when he debated Joe Biden, and Joe Biden was like so horrible, and then they decided to replace Joe Biden. That's what killed like Trump's momentum from getting shot, because there was just so much news going on. But yeah, it should be. And they don't even talk anymore about like the guy's motivation. I mean, we can imagine the guy's motivation if he I wonder if the guy even worked alone, if he had somebody help him, or that the Secret Service just let it happen. Because you could see it. People had videos of the guy running around on the roof. And if the Trump people in the crowd saw that, How in the hell did the Secret Service not see that? I used to work at the university years ago, and Bill Clinton would come up there sometimes, and the Secret Service, man, they were checking everything out. I mean, they're supposed to be pretty good at their jobs. They it could have been both. I mean, just incompetence, and there was more to that story. But it's funny how they just sweep it under the rug, kind of like the Las Vegas shooting. You don't really hear about that. It just got, you know, memory hold.
Yeah, and that's why there's a lot of distrust in our government, how the FBI has done illegal activities, like they got involved. It came out last week. I don't know if I covered it much, but Zuckerberg did admit that the Biden-Harris administration put pressure on them to censor posts. And the FBI, we know, they lied about Hunter Biden's laptop for political reasons. So the FBI is very political and they're corrupt. So it makes you wonder if they had a guy, because the FBI, they try to groom these type of shooters. We do know that. And maybe they were trying to give him ideas of what to do. I wouldn't put it past them. Now, how the Secret Service reacted, well, like everything in America now, because of DEI, we're getting a lot of incompetence, and that is what's happening. Let's see. Oh, this is Ryan. Thank you. Ryan, I appreciate this. Kind of tipsy. God bless you guys. Rams, what's up with the Vietnam era jacket? It's giving Apocalypse Now vibes. This is a shirt. It's not a jacket. It's Eddie Bauer. I like Eddie Bauer because I'm tall and they have tall shirts that fit me better. I just have my shirts I wear over and over. So there's nothing really. I'm not trying to make a statement or something. So I'm not trying to give everyone a shock or something like that. So what do you think of this shirt, Sasha?
I like it. I actually have a jacket like that though, so I do have a couple of those cleaning my dad's closets out. I had one in high school. Mine was camo though, but there's one that looks kind of like yours. I always kind of like the Army Navy look. When I was in high school, me and my friend Moscow would go to the Army surplus store and we'd buy boots and shirts like that. And I don't know if young people do that anymore, but we were kind of into that whole thing. It kind of went with the grunge movement in the 90s.
Yeah, that's pretty cool. I'm old enough to remember. I don't know if you remember. Do you remember jean jackets? That was popular in the 70s and 80s.
I have like 3 jean jackets, actually 4. I'm gonna sell one of them, but yeah, I have patches all over mine. But yeah, I love jean jackets. I had a pink one, and I have a picture of me in it. It was so cool, and you just can't even find stuff like that now. And it was a kid's jacket, so there's no way in hell I don't think I could buy one. But people always make fun of the 80s. I was thinking about that, like watching old movies from the 80s. And I thought, yeah, some of the hairstyles and stuff were like kind of tacky, but it's like, is it any worse than the way people look now, where everybody's covered in tattoos and like I saw this video on this girl and she was real pretty out of the face, but man, her arms were just like, and she had all this crap in her face. And I'm just like, man, you really ruined your looks. And it just kind of takes away from people's looks, I think. I don't mind when rock stars do it, like Tommy Lee and all those guys. It's like, fine, you're kind of like a dirty man anyway. And it's kind of hot when men do it. But when women do it, I don't know. I just think it kind of takes away. And they can't get like one kind of nice one. They get like, they just don't stop. And a lot of them look really poorly done.
Yeah, I've never been a big fan, and I get it. Some people have it. And if you have one, it's not like I hate you or anything. It's your body. That's a case where it's your body to do what you want. It's just I've never in my life seen a girl and think, oh wow, her getting a tattoo makes her more attractive. I don't think there's ever been a case like that. At the best, it's just neutral. If anything else, it kind of looks ugly. So I've never been a big fan of tattoos, but I get it. Some people have them, and no, I don't hate you if you have them. It's your body, whatever you want to do. It's kind of like, if you want to color your hair purple, I don't really care. It's kind of silly, but I don't care. But when you weird hair colors, at least you can change it easier. Some of this stuff, though, I like some fads, like this whole transgender thing. That's something that's not easily fixed. So that's going to be a big issue going forward. Uh, Definitely the case.
Yeah, well, and I mean the thing is, like, I think colored hair can be pretty on people. Like you look at, like, once again, the '80s, like Cyndi Lauper had crazy hair, but she was pretty and it looked nice on her. But like even at where I work, there's these morbidly obese women. It's always seems to be always morbidly obese women that always have like purple hair, and it's like it just doesn't look good. If you're thin and attractive, like you can kind of pull it off, and if you're young, but if you're morbidly obese, it's kind of like the tattoo thing. I don't, some of them look more tasteful than others, but it just seems like some of these people, they're not very attractive anyway. And it's like instead of trying to look nicer by maybe wear makeup or just wear nicer clothes, they just try to make themselves look even uglier. And I don't really understand. Whereas in the '80s, people did try to fix up and like I don't know, you see these videos and the people looked so much nicer back in the day, and you can't get rid of that stuff either. It's funny, I saw somebody in the chat mentioned like an episode of Married with Children with Kelly Bundy. There was an episode where she wanted a tattoo for her graduation picture, and she's like, "Mom, can I get a tattoo?" And she's like, "Haven't we learned from Grandma's mistakes?" She said, "Imagine being her age with love and hate tattooed on your breast. Now, don't you think she feels silly with those verbs bouncing against her knees?" And I always kind of think of that, like it might look kind of cool when you're young, but what about, I'm 45, and the older I get, the more I'm just like, I don't know if I want that. Like I work with this lady and she's real sweet and she's like covered in them and she's like, "Oh, people from my hometown are still kind of backwards about tattoos." And I thought, no, it's because they realize that shit's forever. I mean, you can get it removed, but it's expensive and I've heard it's more painful getting them removed than getting them. So I don't know.
Yeah, it's just an example of a fad. It was some women did it, so they all started to do it. Like, oh, I'm gonna get a tattoo and be unique from everyone else, and everyone else is doing it. So it's yeah, it is kind of dumb. And speaking of '80s fashions, one that I found even to this day cringy, and you saw it back in the future. People used to wear those vests without arms. Those were real popular, and it was like, what the hell was the point of that? But that was a popular fashion statement. And also, I remember designer jeans were a big thing, where you have the label, like wasn't Jordache, I think, is one, and Calvin Klein, and then there was the preppies. They had the Izod shirts. That was a big thing. The '80s, it was interesting because the '60s and '70s were all get away from the corporate man. In the '80s, it was all about dressing nice, and there was a whole. I was never as part of that, but there's some people that really dress preppy, or they always you had to have your designer jeans and all that.
Yeah, I love the '80s. Like I said, people will shit on it, but I don't know. I see the way that these girls dress now, and I'm like, I don't know. Everybody's like shows their bodies off all the time, and a lot of these people don't have nice bodies to show off, and you just want to be like cover up. And back then, I don't know. I just think people looked better back then. Maybe it's because I was a kid and I grew up then, and my favorite movies are from that time. But I think that the people, the men and women both, as far as looks go, were superior. There wasn't all this weird shit like I go on X and there's just so many freaks on there, and not in a good way. Like, used to think freaks were kind of fun. When I think of freaks, I think of people like Robert Smith from The Cure. Now you have all these people where you're just like there's something really off about that person, and it's too much.
Yeah, it's something that has changed where there's almost a desire to look ugly, like you're trying to stick it to the man or something. And in the '80s and even in the '90s, there was this idea, and no one apologized for like having hot women in music videos, and I guess you could have hot men too. But now you have all this body positive bullshit, and you have all these non-binary lesbians that are fat, and they try to get them in movies and TV and now video games, and people don't really like it. But it was okay if in the '80s, hey, I like thin, hot women, and they would actually have blonde women back then. Now it's almost verboten to show a blonde woman. It's you got to have blacks and mulattoes and Mexicans and maybe an occasional white woman, but she can't be blonde hair. Have you noticed that?
Yeah, like when I was growing up once again in the '80s, like almost all my favorite TV shows, the mom was blonde and they were all pretty. And I've been watching Charles in Charge because it's on Amazon Live TV. Hopefully it'll be on tomorrow. But the mom and that's blonde. Both the daughters are blonde, and they're all really pretty. And you're just like, oh, I miss this. I don't know. Maybe it's just because I was blonde, a little blonde kid growing up. It was nice to see people that look like me on TV, and I just kind of took it for granted. Because now you look at stuff half the time, I don't even know what race people are. I'm like, because like when you're young, when I was a kid, you kind of knew it was either black, white, mulatto, and then now it's just like there's so many different people in the country. I can't even keep track of who's what. But I was always partial to blondes. Like I always thought blonde women were like the prettiest. Like when I grew up, I liked Michelle Pfeiffer and Kim Basinger, and I don't know. There were so many back then, and now you don't really see very many blondes at all, like you said.
And they've also eliminated, especially blonde men. You don't see blonde men anymore. Whereas back in the day, like Starsky and Hutch, I forget which one was blonde, and I think on the what was that show with Generally? I forget the name of it.
It's
Dukes of
funny.
Haz Dukes
It's
of Hazzard. They had a blonde guy, so but they've really eradicated blondes, and I don't know. I know Hollywood's very Jewish, and they're not blonde by by design, so maybe that's part of it. But they've really tried to take away blondes from the whole showing, and especially it's very rare to have a straight white guy that's a hero now, unless he's like gay or something. It's almost not done anymore.
Yeah, Bo and Luke were in Dukes of Hazzard, and they were both really cute. There's a lady I work with, and she loves Dukes of Hazzard, and we were talking about that because she liked the dark-haired guy and I like the blonde guy. But I thought they were both cute. But yeah, you wouldn't see that now. It's really rare to see like white guy heroes in shows now. It's always kind of shocking when they are. I can't. I'm trying to think in my mind when the last time I saw a movie where it was. It's very odd to even have a movie where just like the male's the main character anymore. You have to have a woman always. Like movies like Stand by Me, I don't think that would even get made nowadays because it was about like four kids. I mean, they're kids, but they're all boys. You couldn't really do that.
Yeah, the girl power thing is very obnoxious, and you started to see that in video games, but in movies and TV, where you have, or the girl boss, she's the one that kicks ass, and the guy's goofy. It's almost like they have these tropes now. The white guy is either the bumbly fool, which is like a Tim Walz character, he plays that role, or he's the evil villain. And then the black guy is a brilliant rocket scientist, and the woman is tough as nails and keeps everything together while the men lose their heads. So they basically do an inversion of reality, and it's I don't know, it's getting definitely pretty disgusting. It was funny because I was just looking up at Sasha your calendar there, and you have a whale calendar, and that reminds me of the show. Before I go to bed, we get Netflix with our phone plan, and I was watching this. I didn't know what to see, so I'm like, oh, this looks weird. It's a foreign show. It's called The Extraordinary Attorney Woo is the name of it. It's a Korean show. It's about an attorney. She's a Korean, obviously, and she's got some autism, and she just loves whales. She's fixated on whales. If you guys give it a chance, it's pretty clever. It's kind of a mix of like Perry Mason and Sherlock Holmes, and uh, but the thing that really struck out when I watched the show is everyone in the show is Korean. And it's nice. They have their country full of Koreans, and you see Korean actors. There's not one black or not one of any other race than Koreans there. And they are so lucky they have that. And just today, Sesh and I went to Brahms. I think it was today. And, the people are nice, but they're jibber jabbering in Spanish. And I told the lady, well, it sounds like it's Mexico City here. This is Northwest Arkansas. This used to be in the 70s, like 95% white. I mean, it's just white people, English speaking. And now they're all jibber jabbering in Spanish. I'm like, what the fuck? This is our country. What's happened to it? Where's our homeland? And it's just amazing how that happens. But it is nice when you can see like Korean or Japanese stuff where it can still be uh, show the people, and that is used to be in America the way it was in the 60s, 70s, 80s, 90s. Now they don't do that.
Yeah, that's why I said since I've been doing Spanish since January, I guess I'm starting to be able to pick out words when we go places. Again, I thought I'm going to start using I'm going to start practicing when we go to like Brahms or Walmart or places. But it's kind of sad because these people all come here and they don't have to learn English really, or it's very poor if they do know English. And you're like, how the hell do these people even get to come here? Because like, I don't think I could go to Europe and just like, hey, I'm going to move to Germany now, even though I don't speak German or anything. But it's just amazing how like our upper class, like politician elites just flooded our country and they didn't give a shit about the people that lived here. And now you have, I think it's basically over. I'm not very optimistic about the future.
Yeah, it's really weird. It'd be like when I was in Hungary, it'd be imagine you have all the fast food places in Hungary, and just imagine all the workers are from America and they just speak English. They don't speak Hungarian. I'd imagine the Hungarians would find that very strange, but that's what we're living in now. Ryan had a super chat. Favorite Star Wars movie, personally, pick one. I'm gonna do with a cliche, but it was the best one. Is The Empire Strikes Back? That was, I think, the best Star Wars movie. My favorite character, again, is cliche, but I did like Darth Vader. And you see, I have that little Darth Vader doll that Sasha got behind me on my bookcase. Is pretty cool. I just like the first trilogy, to be honest. I didn't really even care for the ones that Lucas did. Episode one, two, three. I didn't really care for those with Jar Jar Binks or whatever. I just didn't care for those. And don't get me started on the new woke Star Wars. I didn't watch those at all.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to agree with you. Empire Strikes Back is my favorite, and then honestly, if I had to rank the original, I'd do Empire, Return to the Jedi, and the first Star Wars. The first Star Wars out of those three is my least favorite. I mean, it was good, but Empire is the best. And out of the ones that came out after, I thought the third one was pretty good, where he becomes Darth Vader. I like that one, but the other two were kind of eh. CGI Yoda was like a tough pill to swallow, but I know like they had to do it because they weren't going to be able to get a puppet sword fighting without it looking like super hokey. And as far as favorite character goes, man, I love them all really, but I'd probably have to say favorite character would probably be Yoda.
Without doing the standard Darth Vader, I did like C-3PO. He was kind of a sense of humor to the thing. And I think the original Star Wars kind of people miss the point after because there's been so much lore built into it. It's such a huge industry that Disney is destroying. But when Lucas came out with it, it was not meant to be like this real super heavy, serious movie. It was a throwback to the 1950s where you'd have those cowboy movies with cliffhangers. Because the 70s before then, you had like The Deer Hunter, you had all these heavy movies. Taxi Driver. Was that the name we saw? Taxi Driver? Yeah. And we saw these heavy movies. So it was like, hey, let's just have a fun movie that kids can enjoy and kind of good versus evil. That's all it really was. I think people read or saw too much into it. It was just a fun movie. It wasn't meant to be some huge political statement or anything like that.
Well, it's funny when Disney bought Star Wars, it was before Disney went like super woke, and I even kind of thought because that last trilogy that came out at the time, it was before all the new ones. I thought, oh well, maybe Disney can make it better because Disney used to be good. Like, and that's the thing. I know a lot of people won't even watch Disney anymore because it sucks, and most of the new stuff does suck. But I can't not ever watch like Lion King again or Beauty and the Beast. I still love those, and I love Disney was a big part of my childhood. And even when I was an adult, I've been to Disney World 5 times. I've been to Disneyland once. I always loved the characters, and I think Walt Disney built like a really, it was really creative, and it was something adults could enjoy too, like the parks. And if you don't, I'm not like a big scary ride person, but Disney was always great because you could do it without it, having to do the scary stuff. But it was art. It was beautiful. You look at the old stuff, it was really creative and artistic. And now all it is, and I was even talking to a guy at work, and he's a young guy, And he said, yeah, I'm tired of how they just take everything now and they make the cartoons and they do them CGI. And it's like they don't have any creativity anymore. And it seems like DreamWorks is almost doing better stuff now than Disney. They have that movie, The Wild Robot, that's coming out. And I saw the trailer and I was like, that actually looks really good. And I always kind of like movies about robots anyway. And I got the book from the library and I've been reading it and it's really good. And I'm like, wow, Disney could have picked this up and Disney could have made this, but DreamWorks did it. And they did How to Train Your Dragon and all these things. And I think of the last decade, and I think DreamWorks made better stuff than Disney. And Disney used to be top of the game, because if you guys know who Don Bluth is, he's the guy that did Land Before Time and All Dogs Go to Heaven. Well, he worked for Disney in the late '50s. He worked on Sleeping Beauty, and then he quit and he did some other stuff, and then he went back to Disney, and he thought that they were going in a bad direction. I think it was in the '70s, and so he started his own company, and then they did The Secret of Nim. And he wanted to be as good as Disney in their golden era. And they said they actually made Disney, his movies made Disney like strive to be hard, to do better. And they did. And The Little Mermaid came out, and then Beauty and the Beast and Lion King and all these great movies. And then after that, I mean, I don't know, they had like another good decade. And then the 2000s, it just started to get worse. And now Pixar used to be great too. And I used to look forward to every, year there'd be a Pixar movie, and I'd always go see them. And then like this year it was Inside Out 2. And I went, and it was almost just like Inside Out 1 with some more people of color in the movie. And then they added like one more character. And I mean, it wasn't horrible, but I'm like, really? That, like, it just doesn't, this isn't that good. Enchanted was really the last really good thing I think that Disney did, and that was what, like 2007. So I don't know who the hell's running the show over there, but this new Snow White is a joke. You have that hammerhead shark-looking bitch playing Snow White. She's not even white, and it's like you couldn't find like a pretty white girl to do that. That's not a total bitch. Like every time that little bitch opens her mouth, you're just like, man, Disney's losing more money. But I don't know. It's sad to me what happened to Disney.
Yeah, did you see that they canceled the Acolyte and it was panned by even Star Wars fans that are liberal as horrible? It was woke and horribly woke with lesbian space witches or whatever, but it was also just poor writing, horrible writing. I didn't watch it, but that's what I saw some people on YouTube say, hey, I'm not even talking about the woke stuff. It's just bad writing. This guy, he fought, reviews movies. He said it was the worst series writing he's ever seen. And I think a lot of it is you got to figure DEI is not only of infecting like the actors and actresses, but you're getting the writers that aren't qualified. So you get these people that are picked for being a writer because of their race or whatever or sex. And they just destroy it because sometimes they're not even fans. That's what happened with games. You get a lot of these women that actually hate gamers and hate games that ended up being the game designers. It's almost like a weird punishment. And that's what happened. But anyway, this black bitch that was one of the actresses, she blamed the alt right for getting the acolyte canceled. And I'm like, lady, 2018 is calling you back. I mean, it's been the alt right hasn't been a thing for like 6 years, and she blamed the alt right for making them canceled. And it's like, no, it's a pile of shit you guys produced, and the acting was horrible, the writing was bad. It was just political propaganda, anti-white, no white characters except for villains, the usual garbage.
I love how they always blame sexism or racism, like anytime that they do some shit. And it's like, maybe just get people that like these shows do it. But like I said, they don't care anymore about putting good things out. They're either going to recycle stuff, like with like Snow White, like let's take Snow White and make it like CGI, or the dwarf CGI, and make it look like crap. And let's just do that now for everything instead of coming up with new stuff. Like I said, DreamWorks seems to be the way to go as far as animation, because Disney's fumbled the ball. And they could even do live action, because they did live action. I mean, they did like The Cat from Outer Space and Parent Trap and all those movies back in the day. Disney did great stuff. I mean, it's really sad to see what's happened to Disney. It really kind of breaks my heart in a way. And I love the old stuff, and I want to keep the old stuff alive. But man, I really wish they'd fire these people. Somebody, whoever's working for Disney, they must hate Disney, or they hate the fans. The same with the Star Wars stuff. Like the ones Lucas did in like the 2000s, they weren't the greatest, but they were not like the lesbian space witches or whatever the hell they're doing. And wasn't the Star Wars thing, was that those stupid girls that had that thing where they're all like 5'4" and a bob, and that stupid thing that was all over X? I saw people say those are the bitches that ruined Star Wars. It's just like, ugh, it just disgusts me.
Yeah, well, I think it was intentional. The whole woke thing was to demoralize white people, and it was planned. And I don't think they cared initially how much money they would lose. Maybe they thought they wouldn't lose money, but it was definitely intentional. I mean, we're getting some backlash on it, so I guess that's a positive. And maybe the studios are a little behind the times. I'm starting to sense that they're starting to step back a little bit. A lot of these companies are eliminating their DEI stuff. They'll probably just rebrand it. But I could see, well, we saw that movie Strange Darlings, and that wasn't woke at all. And I could see them just starting put out movies. And by woke, I don't mean there's like black characters in it. I mean woke where they're trying to do just some preachy message about the evil of whiteness or just something, pro homosexuality or whatever they're pushing. They just don't really concentrate on the plot or developing an interesting story. In fact, sometimes the wokeness actually handcuffs them. That's what they had the problem with Ray and Star Wars, is because women have to be girl bosses. That is sexist to show that they could be weak or do anything wrong. So they have to be perfect from the beginning, the character. And there's no character development you can do like you could do with Luke Skywalker or other characters. And so it really creates just a really bad, it's just bad propaganda. In fact, they had propaganda in the 70s and 80s, but they were a little bit more subtle about it, and I think it was more effective. Now the propaganda is Soviet tier or North Korea tier, and it's just bad propaganda. It's bad entertainment.
Well, and that's the thing. It's like when you watch movies even from like the 80s, though, I think they really did try to get people they thought were like good for the roles. Whereas now it's like they don't even do that. It's like, oh, we got to check this box. We have to have a Hispanic. We have to have an Asian. We have to have a black. And in real life, do you ever really see those kinds of people hanging out together? They might be forced to at a job where they have to go to a meeting together, but like most of the time people are tribal, like you say, and there's like some outliers, but for the most part people kind of hang out with people like them. It's like that where I work, the Hispanics usually when we had more Hispanics, then we like the few times we would eat together, whatever, it would usually be them kind of grouped up speaking Spanish, or the couple white people up there. That's just kind of the way it is. But they try to you have to make everybody happy now because we're in this multicultural hellhole. So you have to have all these different groups represented, and you have to have a gay guy too. And so when they get a white guy, like, oh, we don't want to, or they hate white men especially. So it's like, we'll have him play the bumbling idiot, like you said, the Tim Walz, the guy, like in the sitcoms and stuff. Because even you watch sitcoms from the 80s, a lot of the dads weren't like that. The dads were usually some of the best characters. Like I love the dad on Family Ties, and the Growing Pains dad was good. They weren't like bumbling fools, but I mean Al Bundy was kind of like a fool, but at the same time Peg was too. Like I kind of thought everybody on that show was stupid. So
I agree. With Married with Children, it was kind of they portrayed him being real stupid, but at the same time, he got his on his wife, and they made fun of the girl being kind of the bimbo, and so it was just for comedy, and it wasn't, I don't think, trying to drive a certain political thing. And a lot of people, the audience, would cheer for Al Bundy. But yeah, now they get away from that. Joseph, thank you. Love the show. Have either of you seen Faces of Death 1978? It's a great movie, and I think you might enjoy it. Have a great weekend. Is that the video that was popular back then, where they just showed people being killed? Uh, I didn't think it was like a real movie or anything. It's just clips of people dying. And now you just see that all the time on the internet anyway. So I don't know. Have you heard of that, Sasha?
yeah, when I was in high school, Moscow I think rented those, and we watched some of them. I thought they were real. I don't know if are they real. They look real to me, and they were kind of horrifying. Some of them were like, I remember there's one where they hit like a monkey in the head. I don't like the animal stuff. There was one where this guy got eaten by like an alligator and stuff like that, but I don't know if he's talking. There might be just a movie called Faces of Death. I should look it up.
No, I think it was just a clips of people being killed. So it was real, but I don't think it was a traditional movie. Um, that was another thing, another movie we saw. It was interesting called, what was it? Terrifier, Sasha? Was that the name of it?
Yeah, with the weird clown.
Yeah, we rented or not rented it. We saw it online because Mosca recommended it. And that was a movie, the first one, that, in my opinion, and I thought about this, I love the villain and it was interesting, but I don't think it was properly called a movie. There was really no plot, but it was still kind of entertaining. It was just this psycho clown killing people with really no plot. But it was interesting how they can get, you could get a situation where, is it really a movie or is it just clips of scary things?
Oh yeah, I looked it up and it is a collection. They said some of it's fake and some of it's real. So I don't know. I never saw the whole thing all the way through because I didn't want to watch a lot of it because I had heard it was all real. And I was like, God, I was like 17 when I saw that. So it's been years. There's multiple ones too, but yeah. But like you said, you can see that stuff online now.
Yeah, that's the thing. You get even gorier stuff online that I don't really care to see. They had like websites like Best Gore and all that, I think was the name of it. And I just don't care to see, yeah, used to be popular with ISIS where they'd behead people and they showed the beheadings. And I don't really care to see that stuff just because it doesn't, life, yeah, I just like more enjoyable things in life, really. So, um, but yeah, that is the situation.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I love horror movies though. I was talking to somebody at work tonight about horror movies, and they had never seen Friday the 13th Part 4 and didn't know Crispin Glover was in it. And I'm like, oh, you have to see it just for that because he's really funny in it. And that reminds me, Back to the Future Part 2 is going to be back in theaters next month or in October. So I'm kind of excited. I saw that in the theater when it first came out, and I was 10 years old, and now it's going to be back. And you've said you've never we started to watch it, but we never got through it because my cousin that uninvited us to Christmas had us over for Thanksgiving. This was during COVID, and it was on, or we put it on Netflix on their TV, and we were getting into it, and she made us turn it off so we could talk. And I was like, yeah, I'd rather just watch Back to the Future Part 2. And so we never really saw it together.
Yeah, and Sasha, do you want to do the part of the show now where we're just on Rumble and X? The reason is we want to KMax sent in some video, a game of guess the 50s songs, and there'll be like copyright issues with YouTube potentially. Does that sound good?
Yeah, I wanted to show you that real quick. It's like I think it's less than 2 minutes, that ad by RFK's running mate, because I found it on X. How do I do this? Just do present.
Yeah.
Hold on, I made it full screen in it. Let's see. Present. Okay.
Are you or your loved ones suffering from illnesses such as TDS, also known as Trump derangement syndrome? Do you dismiss or deny the current issues facing our country, such as historic inflation, illegal immigration, corporate corruption, World War III escalations, and the chronic disease epidemic? Are you willing to elect someone who was the least popular vice president in modern history, and who offers no policy or vision for America, simply because your brain keeps telling you anyone but Trump? If so, you might be struggling from TDS. Introducing independence. Independence allows you the freedom to finally think independently once again. Instead of believing everything you hear from the mainstream media, independence allows for constructive critical thinking.
I used to hear people on the news say things like, Donald Trump and the movement he has encouraged are a threat to democracy. And I instantly believed it. With independence, I now realize the media is run by the Democrat elite, who are a corrupt oligarchy that censors free speech, silences political opponents, supports forever wars, and abandons democracy by anointing its candidates.
Independence may not be for everyone. If you enjoy being lied to about your president's cognitive abilities, support Orwellian totalitarianism, or are excited about communist fiscal policy, independence may not be right for you. Common side effects of independence may include an awakening of rational thought, successfully identifying propaganda, freedom of choice, loss of hatred, anti-narcissistic behavior, and love of democracy.
I used to blindly hate whoever my party was running against. I didn't care about facts or policy because I was hopelessly indoctrinated. With independence, I'm much more interested in policies that uphold democracy, and I truly care about the health of our country and its citizens.
Ask your doctor if independence is right for you, and enjoy your freedoms once again.
That's pretty funny. I enjoyed it. So,
Yeah, I thought it was good.
all right, we're gonna continue, guys, but we're just gonna shut down the YouTube part. So thank you, YouTube. Head on over to X or Rumble.